Hi, this is April Handy. This video is all about activations, and we're going to start with our glutes, and we're going to do 4 sets of 12 per leg of these leg raises in the prone position on your belly. I want you to push your hip bones into the mat, bring your front hip points up to meet your ribs, so you're hollowing out the belly's coming up to meet the spine. And as you raise your right leg, what I want you to do is pull the leg out. Pretend as if I'm behind you, pulling your leg away from your body, and keep pulling it out as you lower the legs slowly back down to the ground for 1 repetition. And we want to do 12 per leg, 4 sets each. Take your time. Again, as you come up, go ahead and start pulling the leg out and keep pulling the leg away from you as you bring the leg back down to the starting position. Absolutely activating that glute on the leg that's working. Please switch to the left side if you haven't already, bringing that left leg up, and then as you bring it down, just pulling that leg away from you, keeping both hip points down on the mat. Nice gentle breathing in and out through the nose, soft, quiet breaths. Feel length in the back of the neck, so the back of the neck should be long. All right, second set, right leg. Really reach that heel out and keep pulling that leg out as you come down. Second set, left leg. Reaching that heel out, keeping those front hip points down on the mat, pulling the abdominals up to meet the spine. Third set, back to the right side, firing that right glute. Third set, left side, firing that left glute. Keeping those front hip points down, pulling those abdominals up, lengthening the leg out as you bring it back down. Last set, right side. I need 12 more. Come on, you can do it. Pull that leg up, reach that heel out. I'm behind you, pulling that leg out. Fire that right glute. Fourth set, last set, left side. All right, let's get that left butt muscle working. Pull that leg away as it comes down. Make each repetition count. Excellent. All right, our next move is bending the right knee. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing, except we're going to be pulling that knee out away from us. Keeping the hip points down, okay? Bringing those abs up to meet the spine. And I want you to give me 12 repetitions again per leg, 4 sets, starting with this right leg. As you're pulling the knee back down, pull that leg away from you. All right, onto our left. Pull that left knee away from you. Move the leg slowly. Really activate that left glute. All right, back to our right side, second set, 12 repetitions. Take your time, pull that knee out and away from you. Keep those hips on the mat, pull the belly up. Keep the back of the neck nice and long. Second set, left side, 12 repetitions. You got it. Third set, right side, working that right glute. Third set, left side. Staying focused. Nice, gentle breathing. In and out through the nose. Squeezing the hip bones tight. Feeling the belly come up to meet the spine as you exhale. Nice job. Last set, right side, 12 reps. You got it. Let's make this glute work. We need it strong. It needs to be able to activate when it's supposed to, so we don't have the synergist or the antagonist, not the main prime mover, not the agonist. We need the actual prime mover to do the work. And a lot of times, the glute ends up being underactive. Lengthened, weak. So we're doing this here today to strengthen this glute, tighten it up a bit. Onto your left side, last time. Again, you can tell here I've changed my arm positioning. It's not easy, but I want you to get through it. Keep going. Pull that leg away from you. Reach that heel up. Raise it up as high as you possibly can before slowly bringing it back down and pulling that knee away from your body. You got it. On to our third movement. The third one is I want you to open up those knees wide and then bring those heels together. Bring the toes down, reaching towards your shins. Next, I want you to press your heels together as hard as you can and do that for a few seconds before releasing. And we're going to do, again, 4 sets of 12 repetitions here. So we're going to do 12 reps. Go ahead and press, press, press. Hold it together for a few seconds, release. Press, Hold it for a few seconds, release. And you're going to feel those glutes activate. Back of the neck remains nice and long. Front hip points pulling up towards the ribs, bringing that belly up to the spine. Now, as a superset, let's let those legs go, and I want you to come back into an A position. So I want you to have your arms not straight back, but a little bit as if your arms are like the bottom of an A, a capital A. Palms facing down, and kind of doing the same movement here, kind of holding for a few seconds, going back down. Going very slowly on the down here. Up, slowly down. Up, slowly down. 12 repetitions. Pulling those hands back, those elbows back as far as you possibly can. When your arms are closer to your body in this position, you end up working more of the triceps. That's why I like it more in the A position. All right, second set. Squeeze those heels. Knees out, heels together, toes down. Squeeze, hold for a few seconds, release. Squeeze, hold for a few seconds, release. 12 reps here. Second set, moving back into that prone. It's kind of like a prone cobra, giving me that A shape. I want you to pretend like you're bringing your scapula, right, your shoulder blades, put them in your back pockets. Slide those shoulder blades into your back pockets. That's kind of what I want you to envision as you're coming up. And then again, go very slowly down. So you're coming up, slowly down. Coming up, slide those shoulder blades in those back pockets, and down. Keep the neck, the back of the neck nice and long. Taking your time. And I'm going to take you into a child's pose to rest. It just felt like the right move, the right counter pose here. So just let that chest sink down, let those hips sink back. Reach those hands, those fingers out. Separate your fingers wide. And let your body just melt down towards the mat. On to our third set. Let's do it. All right, so knees are wide, heels are together. Let's squeeze those heels, hold it for a few seconds, release. Let's do 12 reps. Squeeze those glutes, keep those hip bones down. This one is not about raising the knees, it's about squeezing those glutes. Squeeze those heels together as much as you can. All right, back into your prone cobra, third set, 12 repetitions, bring yourself up, slide those shoulder blades back into those back pockets, and then slowly let yourself come down. 2, 3, 4, and back up, down, 2, 3, 4. Up, down, 2, 3, 4. It's a great tempo right there. 12 reps. Last set. Squeeze those heels. 12 reps. You got it. Fourth set, last set. Prone cobra. Arms in A shape, palms facing down. Slide those shoulder blades back as you come up. Slowly let yourself down. Resist, resist, resist. Long back of the neck. Back into another very well-deserved child's pose, letting that heart sink down and the hips sink down and back. Pull your tailbone under as you stretch out those lats. Next, you'll grab your Pilates ball, lay supine, legs at 90 degrees, and I want you to pull your tailbone up off the floor and squeeze your butt. You're also squeezing your hip bones together, pulling your abdominals into the spine. You're squeezing for a few seconds, 2, 3, and down. Squeeze, 2, 3, and down. Just like that. 12 repetitions. Next, you'll start getting prepped to have your legs straight. So stretching your heels all the way out. Actually pretend as if you're pulling the ball together with your feet. Your toes are straight up, your heels are straight down, and they're hip width apart, but you're pulling the ball together using those adductors, which are the key to accessing the pelvic floor, which we then need to connect with the abdominals. So think adductors, pelvic floor, abdominals. And keep that connection as you move your arms. So as you can see here, I'm moving my arms back over my head while being careful not to arch my low back. So my back stays as flat as possible with my hips reaching out towards my heels. Even as I move my arms coming all the way down, touching the mat. Back and forth, back and forth. 12 repetitions. Nice, gentle breaths, squeezing those hip bones together. Thinking of that pelvic floor area, getting it to come up to meet the abdominals via squeezing those adductors, squeezing the ball together. And watch those feet. Be sure that those toes are still pointed up and those heels still pointed down. After 12 repetitions, be sure to change your hand position and move your arms laterally out and then back to the center. Out and back to the center for 12 repetitions. Again, keeping everything tight and pulled into the center of the body. Next, we're getting into those hamstring curls. So we're going to reach those heels straight out, keep squeezing the ball together, watching the toes, watching the heels, and then pull that ball into the butt, pull the heels into the butt. Out and back, keeping the hips perfectly still. Breathing very gently. If you're having trouble with stability, moving only on the exhale where you'll have more control. Taking your time, there's no rushing. If you can do 5 versus 12, but you can do it without moving your hips because you go slowly, go for those 5. But if you can do 12, let's go for 12. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Think of the muscles that you're using, which are the hamstrings here, and squeeze those hamstrings. Bring awareness there. Next, let's move supine on the mat without the ball. Leave your left leg bent, foot on the floor, right leg straight out. And I'm going to have you push into the floor with that left foot, pull the heel towards you, and pull up into a one-legged bridge. And then I would like you to pull that right heel out to the right. So again, be conscious of the direction of your toes and your heels. I want your toes facing straight up and your heels facing straight down as you move the leg to the right. So you're not doing any kind of rotation here. And that's the trick. You're going to get the right muscle if you can make sure you're moving that foot correctly. At the same time, you're absolutely pulling that left heel towards your bottom. 12 repetitions. Pulling your hips towards your knees as well, so you're not having any kind of overarch in your back or anything like that. Great. Other side. So we're going to go ahead and push hard into the floor with that right leg. The left leg is straight out now. We're going to pull ourselves up into that one-legged bridge, pull that right heel back towards ourselves, pressing actively down into that right foot. And then we're going to kind of just move that left foot laterally out left. A little out, back to the center. A little out, back to the center. Keeping the toes pointed straight up, the heels pointed straight down. Not too much of a movement here. There's not much needed, as you'll find, as you feel, if you go through this movement, seeing how it feels. Keep those hips still. 12 repetitions, of course. Next, rolling onto your side. I'm rolling onto my left side, so I'm going to reach my right leg out as far as I can, as if someone's under my foot, pulling my foot towards them. And then I'm going to pull my right hip up towards my shoulder, which causes my side to press down into the ground. Now, again, as you pull your leg away from you, towards this side wall over here to the left of the screen, I'm pulling my leg towards that left side of the screen, right? As I do that, I create a tunnel under the left side of my body. And then as I pull my leg back up, that tunnel closes. So it's like you're closing the tunnel, creating the tunnel, closing the tunnel, creating the tunnel by pulling your hip, your right top hip, out and back up, out and back up. The leg is not lifted too much either, as you can see here. And I like to have my top arm reached straight out ahead of me. That way my right top hip is not tempted to open up. Just keeps everything in proper alignment. I'm absolutely making sure that my spine is in proper position as well. Next, once the leg is stretched out and you're on your last repetition, I want you to see if you can give me these pulses, just pulse, 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 little ones, up, 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 up. And then what you'll do is you'll turn the foot upward. So you'll turn the toes up and you'll give me again, pulse, 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 as many as you can until the leg fatigues. You're still staying in it though. The leg is still stretched out as far as possible. You've got that tunnel. And then you'd actually point the heel up, toes down. Pulse, 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 pulse. Other side. So we'll be laying on our right side and we'll be pulling that left leg out and back up, out and back up for 12 repetitions. Pulling as far as you can with every repetition. You'll feel it stretch. You should feel it stretch. Again, the leg is not lifted too high. Top arm is reached straight out ahead, keeping that top hip closed versus open. Head is just relaxing on the floor or on the arm, as you can see here. Bottom leg is totally relaxed. This is all about the top working leg here. And I would say the movement of that hip, the range of motion of that hip. Next, we'll be doing, in that out position, we'll be doing those pulses, as many as you can, general, regular, and then you'll turn the toe up as many as possible, turn the toe down as many as possible. Lengthen out as much as you can, and then let yourself come down and out of it. Next, we're going to do that same concept with the Pilates ball against the wall, interestingly enough. So as you can see here, I have the ball wedged about hip height between me and a wall, and I'm inching my outer leg as close as possible to the wall until I'm almost going to fall. And that's when you're in the perfect place. And then what I'm doing here is that hip that's closest to the wall, that's actually touching the ball, I'm pulling that hip up and down, up and down. So I'm doing the same thing as I was doing when I was side lying. And now I'm doing a pistol squat with this ball wedged between me and the wall here. And what I'm focusing on is not letting my right knee cave in. So I'm trying very hard to make sure that my knee stays in line with that second toe and is not veering in. It takes a lot of gluteus medius strength here, which is a typical underactive muscle for me, which I need to activate. Let's try that on the other side. Again, the ball is hip height, about an arm's length away from the wall. I'm going to find the closest position possible to where I'm not going to fall with that outer leg. Get as close as you possibly can. And then I'm going to do those hip up and hip downs. Hip up and hip down as far as possible. Someone's under my knee pulling it down, and then I'm pulling that hip up towards my shoulder. 12 repetitions. Anywhere between 1 to 3 sets of these 12 repetitions of this entire routine would be fantastic. I'm just going through one for you here as an example. And then from here again, being careful with that left knee. Trying hard to use my left hip to pull the knee out. Using the muscles around that left hip to pull that knee out. Absolutely keeping a focus on the abdominals, pulling those hip bones together. Pulling the spine long as I'm coming down and up. Pushing down into the ground with that left foot. Actively pushing into the ground. Remembering all of these cues. Focusing on the muscle I'm using, that gluteus medius. Great. going into a bent over position here, and I'm going to do a T. Actually, I'm going to start with a Y, a T, and then an A. So a Y, a T, and an A. The A is wide. It's the bottom part of the A. So when you're doing the A, you're not going to want your arms to be too close to your hips. If you did do that, you'd feel the activation more in your triceps, which is not really what we're going for. Going for here, we're going for the trapezius muscle. So, and I want you to go with as much range of motion as possible. So as you can see here, I'm really pulling my arms up as far as they will go with every single repetition. And they're actually improving in their range of motion each time I go. I'm being very careful here to pull those abdominals up to my spine. There is not a rounding in the low back here. That's very, very key. If the back is rounding here, then there's a problem. There's basically, that would mean that a couple things, one of them being an abdominal weakness. So we don't want that to happen. So as you're going through these arm motions, you've got to keep the integrity of the spine, keep it solid. It's one of the tricks. Push actively into the floor as well. Be mindful of your feet. Are your toes facing forward? Are your heels facing back? Great. Of course, 12 repetitions there. Solid number to keep with. Now you can definitely do this on the floor. I decided that I needed to have a little bit more stability work, so I added a Bosu ball. In fact, I could have actually gone on the bottom of the Bosu ball as well, so you could really do it either way. The floor, you could think of many cases here. And I'm just coupling that upper body exercise with a lower body exercise. It's actually a strategy that helps to improve circulation, to go from upper to lower, from upper to low, back and forth, back and forth. Always starting from good position with that tailbone under, ribs down, hips pulled together, abdominals in towards the spine, and then basically leading with the tailbone, pointing that tailbone back as you come down into the squat, and then allowing the tailbone to lead as you come forward. Biggest thing I think that helps me here is pulling my ribs up away from the hips as I'm coming down, as well as I'm coming up. And I would say the medium speed of the movement here. It's not too fast. It's not excessively slow. Be aware of your back. Sit that butt way back. I felt like doing another set of these, so I'm coming down into that bent over position, getting into that Y, T, and A, focusing on that integrity of the low back, keeping that strong and not allowing the low back to cave in. Pulling my abdominals up to support that low back, feeling the length come from the tailbone through the low back, the thoracic spine, all the way up through the back of the head. Nice long line of energy. Getting back on the ball, placing my feet under my hips, squeezing the ball together as well. A little trick there again, which you might guess, because again, I'm focusing on that abdominal connection no matter what I'm doing. And I know that the abdominal connection starts with the pelvic floor, but to access the pelvic floor, I know that I need to get the adductors involved. So I'm squeezing that ball between my feet, as well as lengthening my spine as I come down and back up. Pushing actively into that Bosu ball as well. Taking my time, pulling that tailbone under. Sometimes you'll get a really nice stretch too in that low back. Depending on where you're tight, of course, you'll feel a stretch wherever you're the tightest. Pulling those abdominals up to the spine. You've got that body armor on, and it's on tight. Squeezing the body towards the center. Now I really like this one. I'm coming back into that bent arm position. I'm going to start with my arms straight down, and then I'm going to pull my elbows up, pull my hands back as far as possible, and then I'm going to basically go for a swim and put my arms forward, take the elbows back down as far as they can, tilt the arms down, and then dive into a pool. So you can call it, it kind of looks like a scarecrow, diving into a pool, either way. Again, I'm going for activation of the mid to upper back here to help pull my protracted shoulders back. Someone who has a tight chest, tight pectorals, they're maybe tight lats, their shoulders might be protracted or coming forward a bit. Someone who's on their phone a lot might also, again, have protracted shoulders as well as a forward head posture. And so I'm trying to activate that upper to mid back area, so the trapezius, rhomboids, muscles like that, to help tighten that back area and pull those shoulders back. This would be done in addition to a foam rolling routine that's specific to these issues, these imbalances. To couple that, superset that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on the floor prone, and I'm basically getting into a cobra, pulling my chest forward, pulling the mat towards me with my hands. I'm on my laces with my feet as well, which is important to note. Relax those shoulders. And from Cobra, I'm going to prep the feet, and I'm going to pull my body up using my abdominals. And I'm going to basically create that shallow C shape, pulling my front hip points up to meet my ribs, squeezing my abdominals in towards the spine. And to further that, I might even tuck my chin in a bit. So it's a shallow C shape here. You can even try squeezing your feet together, squeezing your butt muscle, squeezing your arms together. Squeeze everything to the center of the body, and it will get easier. Most importantly, don't allow that low back to arch. Pull those abdominals up. If you're up for it, you can kind of do a combination of cobra, lengthening the abdominals, and then going back into plank, getting into that shallow C shape, back and forth for 12 repetitions in a very controlled manner. Finishing in seal pose, I'm actually straightening my arms out. Again, shoulders are relaxed. I'm pulling the mat back towards me with my hands, so I'm pulling the mat against my hands towards my body. My hip bones are both in the ground, and I'm pulling my chest forward. If this is too much, you can always put your arms out more, or if it's not enough, you can put your arms more towards your body. Very slowly, very gently. I'm basically taking 30 gentle breaths in and out here through my nose, very softly, very quietly. Next, I'll prep my feet. I'm going to get myself onto my elbows first, and then I'll press back into a downward dog. Bringing my toes up, reaching my heels down, pulling my chest down towards my thighs, pulling my triceps in together, and reaching my hips up high. Feeling a stretch in the low back as well as you pull those hips away from your body. Slow, gentle breaths, very quiet breaths in and out through the nose. Reaching those heels down. I'm definitely very proud of you. Thank you so much for joining me and for sticking it out to the end.